Hello guys, welcome back to the MMASucka channel. My name's Fraser Crone and I'm joined by a woman that I'm sure many of you recognise. She's the record holder for most finishes and fights in flyweight history, and a woman who, after her last fight, admitted that she's coming for Charles Oliveira's crown, Gillian Robertson. Gillian, how's things?
Things are going great. Obviously, super hyped off my last win. Super hyped to get a new opponent coming up. A couple months out still, but just excited to have a fight matchup.
Yeah, yeah. I was. We'll go on to talk about your upcoming. I think it's in April. Am I right in thinking? Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
Yes.
So we'll go on to talk about that fight a little bit later on. But I was just watching Errol Hawani show before we went live, and he had Michael Chandler on there talking about the his upcoming Ultimate Fighter season with obviously with against coaching against McGregor that was announced at the weekend. I thought it would be a missed opportunity not to speak to you, someone who's been there quite literally, has been in the house. So how was your experience on the show? I know it was a good few years ago now, and we're way past the Ultimate Fighter stage where we're looking at title contention at top 10, top 15, top 10, top 5 contention for yourself. But you've got the experience. So how do you think those two guys will sort of clash when they're in the house?
So the Ultimate Fighter for me, I feel like it was like probably one of the best and one of the worst experiences of my life. Because I'm like, it's so awesome whenever you're in the gym and you're surrounded by 8 to 10 other girls who all have the same goal as you. They're all as dedicated as you. They just want to work hard. And you have probably 5 or 6 coaches there every single day who have all eyes on you. So you're getting the best work in the world. And that's just like, there's nowhere in the world that you're going to get work like you get in the TUF house. But then you go back to the house and there's no phone, no music, no TV, no books, absolutely nothing to do. And it's just so boring. So I feel like it's so awesome for the training aspect, so like hard for the I guess social aspect of it. But that being said, I think that Michael Chandler and Conor McGregor are gonna really bring like the heat in the social aspect. I think there's gonna be a lot of shit talk, and I think it's gonna be really interesting.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm, I'll admit that the last couple of series, I've sort of I followed it along, but I haven't been, intently watching. I think this season, like you say, they'll bring the shit talking, so it's definitely one not to be missed. I think I'm right in thinking that obviously your coaches were Alvarez and Gaethje, so there wasn't too much bad blood between the two until obviously they then fought. But do you think that how much of an aspect do you think that plays the coaches sort of not getting along? We had what Rampage and Rashad. We've had McGregor has even been on it before against URFA. There's a little bit of needle between them, despite the fact that they weren't going to fight. How much of an aspect do you think that plays on you guys, the fighters in there?
I think it might play a little bit of an aspect. No matter what, we're there to fight each other at the end of the day. So I feel like you definitely saw that in our season, even though the coaches weren't sitting there in each other's faces. But I also feel like the fact that they are going to be in each other's faces and talking is going to be it's like the Ultimate Fighter almost brings that like team aspect out where you do feel that you get wrapped up in that world and think you are a part of like Team McGregor or Team Chandler, even though like it doesn't matter in the long like in the end of things, it's Team Robertson. We're going for yourself.
Yeah,
So
for
it's like
sure.
it's easy to get wrapped up in that though when you're in the TUF house. So it's like I feel like it might build more animosity just between the fighters of both teams.
Yeah, for sure. And looking further down the line, obviously you're focused on your upcoming fight in April. Would coaching on Tough be something that you think you'd be interested in if the opportunity arose, or is that a little bit, like you said, I think the coaches have a little bit more flexibility as far as being allowed to sort of not being forced to live in the house like you guys were. Do you think you'd be interested in a coaching role further down the line?
Oh yeah, I think that'd be an opportunity you can't pass up. I think any fighter would love to do that. It's just such an awesome opportunity, such cool exposure, and I don't know, it really is just a cool opportunity to be able to have an experience like that.
Yeah, for sure. So as I alluded to earlier, obviously we know that you're the record holder at flyweight, and we've said that you've got a fight coming up in April. Am I right in thinking this is a strawweight fight, not a flyweight fight?
Yes, it is. It's gonna be my first fight in the UFC at Strawweight.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about that. So what's where did that kind of come from? Because we've never seen you really, well, as far as I'm concerned, we've never seen you really struggle to make the weight. You never sort of missed weight, and you've never been one of these people that have had to rely on the tower. So why the move down to 115?
I'm I'm just, when I first got signed with the UFC, I was, I guess, doing a little bit more of lifting. So I was probably carrying a little bit more muscle, walking a little bit heavier. I was probably walking around like 145 then when I first signed, where now my last 3 or 4 camps, I think it's been, where I've been walking 132. When it comes to fight week, I'm like 128, maybe sweating 2 or 3 pounds out. It's like the weight cuts are very simple, very easy. And it's like, I don't even have to think of it, which I'm a huge fan of. But it's also a lot of these girls that I am fighting, like even my last matchup, Maria Agbohova, I'm like, I remember when I trained with her at ACT, her telling me that she was walking like 150, which I'm assuming she came into the fight around that because she was
Yeah, she looked
outsized me
big
by a
when you,
lot.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, just a lot of these girls, they're a lot bigger than me. And I feel like I'm just a lot smaller than I used to be. So I just thought it was the right time in my career, right opportunity, and ready to make a title run at 115.
Yeah, it's exciting times for Team Savage, without a doubt. And do you think, how much of an aspect do you think? Obviously, we saw you at Fury grappling a few weeks about, it was about a month ago ish. When you obviously took on Rose Namajunas, and I think on paper it was former strawweight champion. All of this we know. We've seen these flying arm bars from Rose Namajunas. And then we've seen that you've got the record for most flyweight finishes. Like, we expected personally, I expected a much closer matchup than it was, and you seem to sort of just handle it with ease. Do you think that, did that play any sort of factor with the consideration down to strawweight to see how how easy it was that you handled the former, not just a strawweight, the former strawweight champion? How, it was less than a minute, I think, from off the top of my head. And, did that make you realize how sort of the maybe size and strength advantage would play a part in your actual like MMA? Obviously, it's grappling, it's slightly different, but size is size at the end of the day.
It was actually after my last fight that we were. It's been in consideration for a long time, I guess. My last couple fights, because I've been so tiny, because I haven't had to cut weight at all. So my last couple fights, I feel like I've had a lot of voices. Like, the UFC PI has been trying to get me to go to 115. I've had different coaches, different friends, just everybody trying to tell me to go to 115. And I just finally said fuck it, and decided that we're gonna try it at least once. We're gonna see how I feel, see how the weight cut goes. So I'm not 100% sold on strawweight forever if it doesn't go well for me. If I don't like if it is too hard of a weight cut, I don't feel good performing because of the weight cut, whatever the reason is, I'm just going to give it the chance, because I feel like I have a lot of people who've wanted me to do this for a while. So it was definitely a plan before I grappled Rose. But even in the matchup with Rose, me and her both weighed in the exact same. So I think that shows that, like, I'm about the size of a strawweight.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, on paper you've got this huge flyweight against a strawweight, but like you say, you weighed in the same. And at the end of the day, skill kind of, going back to UFC 1, it's the skill that will prevail. How are you looking at doing the weight cut? Is it going to be sort of a slow dieting down process until you sort of go into fight week at like you say, you were 132 going into fight week against Maria Agbohova? Are you going to look to go sort of just 10 pounds lighter? Are you going to diet down, or are you going to maybe look for a slightly bigger sort of water weight cut during fight week?
Ideally, I would like to have the smallest water weight cut I could possibly have. So I figured if I make it hard for me right now, make life suck a little bit right now, I'll make it easier in that last week. So I'm dieting extremely strict right now. I'm running multiple times a week. I'm really just like upping the cardio and cutting out anything bad. So I want to make this is like, I hope I don't have to cut too much water weight. Ideally, I would like to be able to diet down and be able to do it as healthy as possible and make it as easy as possible. I'm like, I don't want to say an easy weight cut because it's gonna suck no matter what, but make it as easy as possible.
Yeah, for sure. So looking ahead, obviously, like we've been going on about, it's not until the sort of not until April. So we've got the rest of we're only in sort of mid-February. We've got all of March. But looking ahead to your opponent, Pierre Rodriguez, for you personally, when looking ahead at her, are you game planning a specific sort of game plan to beat her, or are you looking at just general improvements on yourself, on your own game, how to get a little bit sharper here, a little bit better here, learn this new move, learn that new move?
No, I focus on all that stuff outside of camp. So in camp, we're focused on Pierre. We're focused on what I need to do to beat her and the game plan that we're going to use to approach. Because we want to make it so it's like second nature to me. So when I walk into the cage, I don't even have to think about it. I know that whatever our game plan is, I'm just running it because it's all I've drilled for the last 2 months.
Yeah, for sure. And she is undefeated, and she will be riding a lot of confidence. But how much do you know about her? Because she hasn't been in the UFC nearly as long as yourself, and nearly as long as a lot of the girls that sort of in and around the strawweight mix. Do you know? Obviously, there's enough tape on her for you to get a good gauge of how she's going to try and approach the fight. But how much do you sort of know about her, and where do you think your advantages lie? Over her.
I think in any fight, it's pretty obvious where I think my advantages lie. Obviously, I think on the ground, I think I just outmatch any girl. I think it's going to be a completely different level. I think she is a very good boxer. She's versatile with her takedown. She's not scared to take it to the ground. I don't think she'll be scared to take me down either. I think that maybe like she'll finish the rounds trying to take me down. She's tough as shit, and she's smart. She makes a lot of smart choices. So she's definitely a tough fight, and that's why she stayed undefeated for so long. But I'm definitely trying to take that away from her.
Yeah, for sure. You maybe won't be her biggest fan once you take that O away from her in April. And as you alluded to earlier, obviously you're sort of working towards that game plan, so it becomes second nature. And we've seen a lot on your social media that you're training with Hannah Goldie. So can you just talk a little bit about that, like how that came about? Obviously, a lot of UFC fighters and professional MMA fighters want to have like-minded people in and around them. So how did training with Hannah Goldie sort of come about, and how's it going heading into this fight?
So Hannah and I were actually, both of us made our pro debuts against each other. So we fought each other for our first pro fight. And then I think about a year after that, we connected and started training together. And the last probably like 5 years at least, we've been back and forth training with each other always. She lives up in Orlando, I live in Miami, so we're like about 3 hours drive difference. So it's hard to get up there, her to get down here all the time. But she's probably one of my best training partners. My hardest round, like I remember last time I sparred with her at Fusion after the round, Hudolfo Vieri came up to her and was like, "Do you guys not like each other?" And she was like, "No, we're best friends. What do you mean?" And he's like, "Why do you spar each other like that?"
Yeah, so no going easy on each other. I guess iron sharpens iron, and obviously is she going to be? She's obviously one of, like you say, one of your main training partners ahead of your upcoming fight.
She's definitely going to be coming down here a lot. I'm going to be trying to get as many girls as I can to just come through. At my gym currently at the Goat Shed in Miami, we have a good team of 125-pound boys, but we're still like trying to develop a stronger girls team. So I'm just bringing in girls from wherever I can so I can get different looks, different rounds.
Yeah, for sure. And heading into your next bout, we've seen you. I'm not sure if many other people have picked up on it. It's something I picked up on that I think is fascinating from your sort of careers. You don't have a big team, a big sort of a corner team. A lot of the time, you have sort of one, or maybe just a lot of the time you just have the one person. I think when you came over, I'm from the UK. When you came over to Liverpool to fight Molly, although you were the bad guy in that one, and it went quite well for you. You beat the hometown girl, but you only had sort of one or maybe two sort of corner team people. What's the sort of theory behind that? Why you don't have several different sort of voices in your ear?
I think it's too late to have voices in your ear at that time. I think like I've honestly, when I fought in Prague against Veronica Macedo, I brought just one of my friends in my corner.
Yeah, that was maybe the one I was alluding to. I get them mixed up. Yeah.
Against Molly McCann, I had my head coach in my corner, and he was the only one. So I had one corner there.
Right.
But when in Prague, I had this girl Kayla Rocco, who is my main drilling partner, but she had never cornered an amateur fight, never cornered a professional fight, and cornered me for the first time ever in the UFC. So I'm like, for me, it doesn't matter who's in the corner. It's just I need someone to warm me up. I need someone to get me ready to walk out there because I should be ready by the time the cage door closes. Like I can have a million voices screaming on the outside, but it's like I have to know what to do. I have to make the decisions. So it doesn't make a difference to me. I should be prepared for that moment no matter what.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think I'm from off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure that they both went the same way, both rear naked choke victories. So you're doing something right by just having your friend and then your head coach in your corner. Has your friend cornered you since?
I think I don't think she has, but I've had different people. Like I've constantly changed up my corner. I'm like, but like I said, for me, it's not a huge deal about who's in my corner. It's about who's in my camp, who's helping me get ready for it, who's like so we're about 9 weeks out right now. So for the next 9 weeks, that's what matters to me is who's helping me prepare. Because when that cage door closes, it's like it's just me and Piera in there. Nobody else is gonna save me.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, for your friend to retire at 1-0, one successful corner, she's not too bad for someone that's never done it before. Maybe she's going down as one of the best head coaches ever. Is so we obviously we knew that, or we know that you used to work a lot with Dean Thomas. Is he still sort of on the scene? Are you still training with Dean Thomas, or is that sort of that broken down slightly?
Oh no, he's still a huge part of my career. I was literally just training with him about an hour ago now. Dean, he'll still be in my corner every fight. I don't work on with him as often as I used to, just because he's so busy. He's all over the place.
Yeah.
He's flying to every other fight every other weekend, and it's like it's so hard to really put full time into a pro fighter when he's out of town every weekend. So, he works with me when he can, and he's still a huge part of my career.
And where did that relationship kind of start? Was that from for your days at ATT?
So Dean actually had two ATT affiliate schools in Port St. Lucie, so about 2 hours north of Coconut Creek, where the big ATT school is. And that's where I started training when I was 16 years old. So it was just kind of, I was 16, I wanted to try kickboxing, and it was the only place close to us. And I kind of just happened to walk into the right place.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a relationship that's gelled really well because it's been beneficial for you both. You've picked up some huge wins in the UFC. Obviously, you've spoken about it a couple of times on here. Florida, you're in Florida, and obviously we got the news over the weekend that 287 will be in Florida. We're not looking past Pierre Rodriguez because that's not something that we do, but have you got that in the back of your mind ever so slightly that you maybe want to try and get in and get out without any damage in this one and look ahead to that Florida card in is it before your card or?
No, it's actually the week before my card.
The week before, of course. I forget that.
Well,
yeah,
I'm gonna be cutting weight and mad. There's gonna be a UFC in Miami for the first time in 20 years. I was so upset that when I found out about that.
So what you're like? I mean, you could. Can you go to the event? Is it going to be one of those where you can go, but you maybe not in the best moods? No one cross you.
I don't know. I'm like, I could go, but I'm assuming at that point I just won't want to. It's not going to be something that I just won't have the energy. It's not something I'm going to want to invest my time into when I'm a week out and probably in one of the worst moods.
Yeah, for sure. So, obviously, like you say, it's the week before your fight. So unfortunately, we won't see you there, but I guess we'll get a real push to not wait for another 20 years for a pay-per-view in Miami, just so that we can get you in your home state of Florida competing again. Your fight is in April, so assuming that everything goes to plan, the weight cut goes fairly smoothly. How do you see 2023 playing out after this? Because it's the first quarter. Obviously, we've been all focused around this fight and just this fight, but progressing on from there, like I say, assuming that this one goes your way and you don't take any damage in this one, how do you see the rest of your 2023 playing out?
I guess it depends how smoothly the weight cut feels and how well it goes. Because I would say at least two or three, at least one or two more fights after this. So I would like to have 2 to 3 fights this year, depending on how tough it feels on my body. Because if the weight cut is bad on my body, I might need to take the time a little bit to just get my body prepped to go through that again. So I would say at least 1 or 2 more fights, and that hopefully be getting something maybe in the top 15 after this one.
Yeah, for sure. And like we say, you don't want to look past your opponent, because if you look past your opponent, that's where sort of, complacency maybe begins to kick in. But how do you think you match up with the girls in the top five? Like, we know there's no, there's facts. Most finishes in UFC flyweight history, your ground game is dangerous. So how do you think you match up with some of the girls, in and around the top sort of 5, top 10? Because you've got the likes of, Carla Espada, who's one of these relentless wrestlers who will more than likely, let's say you face her, she'll look to take you down. Mackenzie Dern, her submission game is, quite famous within the UFC for her work, outside of the UFC and within the UFC. So how do you think you match up with some of the girls sort of, higher up in the division, assuming that this one goes well and you do get that top 15 spot that you're after?
Oh, I think I match up very well with a lot of those girls, especially like the two you just mentioned, Carla Esparza. I'm someone who I'm like, okay, go ahead, take me down. Let me work my guard. Let me work my submission. So I'm more than happy to take that fight. And then Mackenzie Dern, I feel like she's the only girl I will honestly say that I do respect her jujitsu. And I do think that if it was a straight jujitsu match, 100% jujitsu, that she would give me work. But this is MMA. I'm like, you got to get the fight to the floor first, which I feel like she wouldn't be able to do with me. I feel like I'd be able to work on my feet or defend takedowns well enough, and then be able to execute my grappling later in that matchup. But all of them, no matter what, I feel like they're all good matchups for me. Anyone in the top 15, I've already been looking at, just waiting. I want those matchups.
Yeah, like you say, this strawweight move has been in the sort of pipeline for a while now, and now that your friends and family have given you that push, it's time to go sort of full all guns blazing into 20. Well, all guns blazing into April, and then hopefully all guns blazing into the top 15. Just looking slightly ahead to this weekend, while I've got you here, Makhachev versus Volkanovski. How do you see that one going down? Obviously, they're fighting for pound greatness. How do you see that one going down? Who have you got to win that one?
I think everybody I talk to says the same thing, and I feel like I agree with this. Everybody wants Volkanovski to win, but doesn't think it's going to happen. I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's the same with me. A lot of people I've spoken to want Volkanovski, but think Makhachev might get the dub.
no, I agree with it 100%. I'm like, I would love to see Volk pull this off, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I see Makhachev coming out successful.
Yeah, for sure. Well, like I say, thank you for your time. We really appreciate you giving up your time to speak to us today. Best of luck in April, and hopefully we can catch up after April, after you've got yet another submission win to notch on the bedpost, as it were, and then we can look ahead to a top 15 matchup after that.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.